So we're going to move on to part 2, and part 2 starts with round 4, and that's finding the common ground. So what areas do you think that we have agreement about in looking at this situation, this problem? What do you think we have agreement about?
That it's a complicated issue.
Absolutely.
That there is some immediacy because there are people at the border and people involved in this that are here legally and illegally.
Right, some aspects of it need to be addressed right away.
Right.
It's a divisive issue that's likely to charge emotions.
Okay.
It's very politically charged.
It certainly has been made to be politically charged.
Yes, and that's being encouraged.
Right, because of the timing.
Highlighted.
If we weren't in,
Timing.
right before an election year, it might not be that same way.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's especially
Yeah.
challenging. Because
And I
of
think
that.
one thing that we didn't talk about is, sometimes where you're having the conversation, are you, whose
Right.
turf are you on? And
Right.
sometimes determine who gets to talk, or how much they get to talk, or
Yes.
how much weight is given to their words, that sort of thing. So, it could be, and where would there be neutral turf that we could have that conversation, if you could find
The library.
a library or something like that, right,
There you
right.
go. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you think
Maybe
is common
there's-
ground?
That we might need more information if we want to deal with the legal aspect of it.
And I think one other piece of common ground is that I think we'd all like to find a solution, that we'd all like
Yes,
to
yeah.
come up with something that would be a way that we can handle this so that it's not so horrific, when we
Right.
see the results of what's happening now, that we have better systems in place, or, that we can identify some problems that we can solve, and let's do that.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be, maybe a question might be, is there something that we as ordinary citizens can do, like right here in our communities?
I just found out that there are busloads of asylum seekers who have been granted some initial permission, and they're put on Greyhound buses, and with no one there to really help them or guide the way. Many don't speak any English, and they come into the bus station here in Memphis, and with their children involved, and so there's a group of people that started to meet the buses, and they'll bring food and snacks and maybe little games, things for children to do on the bus. They make sure that they have some translators so that people can find out which bus they're to get back on, or where they're to go, because they have a destination, because they have sponsors.
Oh, okay.
But I had no idea that was
Yeah.
happening.
I'm glad.
So that might be one thing that could be done
So
with
that-
some immediacy.
Yeah, so that for anybody that had a really burning desire to
Yeah.
help, and that would bring some more information into the system for discussion.
And so just kind of moving forward with this a little bit, if we were going to undertake solving this problem, what do you think would be what's the first problem that we need to solve? Because we identified a number of different issues within this, under this big umbrella. What would you say is the first conflict that we would need to address?
Finding a group of people that would be willing to talk about the issue.
Really good point. People who would be willing to talk about it and in a way that you could seek solutions that are.
And maybe solutions that would work for the other people who don't wanna talk about it. I
Okay.
mean, you have to, I think it would be really important to get different opinions to the table, so that no one feels left out.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna be buy into the solutions that the group would come up with if they haven't felt represented or.
And perhaps something that you said earlier strikes me as maybe a good place to start, and that is, that if we could actually find out what are the laws,
Right.
what are not just the laws, but what are the practices that have guided how we handled this situation in the past. So if we knew what the laws were, how they're administered, you know, who is given asylum, or, you know, are there different categories to immigrants coming into the country? So, you know, if we were better informed about what is the problem that we're trying to solve, you know, whether it's letting everybody come into the country or whether it's letting people come legally, you know, and establishing which ones would be here legally, or, you know, who should be given asylum versus maybe someone who's not coming from an area where they need asylum.
I think even knowing who makes the rules and how are they made and how are they, and then who's tasked with carrying them out, because there's a nature about now, because we've sent military troops to the border, which that's not part of what they're usually tasked with doing. So that's where we might need some outside experts to come in to speak to the group, or provide some information for the group, an immigration attorney or someone who works with.
And are the laws different? I mean, can the states make laws that are different, or?
Because some of the states are sheltering those groups that keep the sanctuaries. Some have become sanctuary cities. Some churches are sanctuary places.
Okay, so that would be part of maybe what would be some of the information that we would need to find out.
Information.
You know, so what are the laws currently? What are the practices currently? Are they different in different states? So that they would need to be handled differently depending on where the immigrants are coming. Because I would imagine that it would be handled differently if they're coming in through, say, Canada than if they're coming in through, say, Mexico, or if they're coming in on the East Coast or something like that.